Hello and welcome to the Thousand Tales podcast. I'm Connor Logan and I'm your host. This episode is another poetry reading from the Newbury Park branch of the Ventura County Poetry Project, and Nancy Jean is the featured poet for this evening, along with some other great local poets who do all their open mic readings after she's done. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some wonderful poetry.
Our next reading, since you asked, on January 26th, we have Jean Colomos, who's right here with us.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Definitely look forward to that. The connection of poetry and dance. So
Yes.
I'm super looking forward to that. And February 9th, we have David Oliveira, who's also with us tonight. So
Excellent.
a lot to look forward to.
Hi, Peg.
Hi, Jean.
Well, Ron, do we have any announcements or anything to discuss before we get started?
I think I just made mine.
Okay, then we're good to go.
Answer early, answer easy, right?
That's right. Nancy Jean, are you ready?
Yes. Do you think I could get screen sharing privileges if I don't have them already?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to read a little intro about you. So Nancy Jean is from the Outaouais, is that?
Outaouais.
Outaouais region.
Right.
Yeah, Outaouais.
My mom can say it. My mom's right there right now.
Outaouais. Yeah, I looked it up earlier of how to pronounce it properly, and of course I still butchered it. So Nancy, you're from the Outaouais region of Quebec, where she was raised by a biracial, bilingual, and multicultural family. Her poems have been published in literary magazines in the U.S. and in Canada. Her poem, Migration, was a finalist for the 2014 Common Good Books Poetry Contest. In 2015, her piece, PHL is greater than YOW, that's how I'm reading it, was the editor's choice for the Poem of the Year in Arc Poetry magazine. In 2018-2019, in collaboration with the California Museum of Art, Thousand Oaks, and the painter Kevin Sloan, she curated ekphrastic poetry by local poets to accompany the exhibit A Collection of Rarities. Nancy's poem, Snowperson Wonders at What Is Left of the World, inspired by Kevin's painting, The Inevitability of Warmth, was exhibited at the museum. Most recently, her poems appear in La Fille de Léonard, What Québécois Cultural Sovereignty Taught Me About Working with Historically Marginalized Students, a chapter in the book, Campus Service Workers Supporting First-Generation Students, published by Routledge in November 21. Currently, she's working on a study of racial, ethnic, political, linguistic, and citizenship identities to be published in the peer-reviewed journal Genealogy. Nancy teaches in the Graduate School of Education at the CSU Channel Islands and in the Doctor of Education program at CLU. Nancy Jean, please take it away. And I'll give you is it Ben? Could you give those display privileges?
Yes, just did.
Thank you. All right.
Good evening, everybody. Can you see my screen?
We sure can.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for joining with me tonight. I'm really honored that you showed up. I'm never sure why anybody would really want to hear anything I write, but here we are. So I thought I'd share. I'm going to share 7 poems, and I thought I would start with just giving you some context. So I come from this beautiful region of Quebec known as the Outaouais, or which is the indigenous, I guess, name for the Ottawa region. So my family, I grew up, my parents and my sisters and brother and I grew up just on the French side of the river. So on the English side is the Ontario side, and Ottawa, the nation's capital, is there. So we had all the benefits of living outside of a cosmopolitan international city, as small as it is, right? It's very Canadian in that way, but also grew up in this very francophone environment that is characterized by the Precambrian shield topographically, and the beautiful rolling hills of that region beyond the Ottawa River Basin. So just to contextualize that, because I write, I don't know, the forest comes up a lot in the work that I make. So without further ado, I thought I would share with you the two poems that were part of the Kevin Sloan exhibit, A Collection of Rarities. And the first poem, which was the one that was on the wall at the museum, is entitled Snowperson Wonders at What Is Left of the World After the Inevitability of Warmth by Kevin Sloan. She stands in the clearing, naming the wildflowers that grow at her feet, while the forest shelters the last vestiges of winter long enough to keep her whole. Every year the cold season grows shorter, and every year she's uncertain if she will return. Trees grab at her neck, choking out the others as they reach for the dim ruins of starlight. Winter has either stopped coming or has come too far, and only the hardiest bits of ice linger like stones. We like to rename our sins to make us good again. If only we had recognized our blessings when we had them. If only we had understood enough to love the world as it should be loved.
Very nice.
So one of the things about Kevin Sloan's work, and this is the piece, obviously, is that he addresses, he broaches these themes of climate change, and I was very moved by that in his work. So the next, oh gosh, let me try this again. I'm really out of practice from the semester. There we go. So the next poem is called The Unaccustomed Forest. And the poem was based on this image here. And in the gaudy, let me try that again. And in the gaudy regalia of a dowry, what was invisible had been here all along. This should have been a tender moment, a homecoming of sorts, but the land was unrecognizable, and in the storm, something seemed different. Timber milled straight, turned malleable, a forest of structures within a forest, a diversion that demanded we rethink beauty, altogether wild and white-tailed, curious and almost gone. This was my home, and once it was yours too. We shared everything, the land and the trees, the gray sky. I wanted to tread gently, to leave for good, but I returned because I couldn't forget the look on your face. I couldn't stop thinking how what is tamed eventually disappears. Thank you. The next poem is for me kind of, this poem is part of the chapter that just came out in the book on campus service workers and their relationships with with first generation university students. And this poem is an old poem for me. I wrote it many years ago, and it kind of is a collage of images from my experiences traveling in Central America over many years. But what I love about this poem is that it speaks, my father speaks in it, and so why it appears in this book on campus service workers and first generation students is because I was a first generation student. I was the first in my immediate and extended family to go to university and graduate. And my father was a tool and die maker at the university that I attended for my undergrad and my master's. And it's because he's talking in it that I built it into this chapter that just came out. So in this poem, there are, so these are some pictures of some of my travels in parts of Central America. In the poem, there's some Spanish, and the Spanish says, for those who don't speak Spanish, that Miguel understands me because he says, I have a Swiss accent, but he understands my Spanish nonetheless. And in it, my father speaks French, and he says, fait à tête, which is an expression that he would use all the time as we were growing up. And it could mean many different things depending on the context. I've had conversations with my sisters about what he meant by this expression, fait à tête, which literally means make your head, but I guess it's really like do it your way, or some version of that. So without further ado, the post-graduation world. You crawl like all wanderers who risk forgetting the road home. Make your way into and out of conflict zones, no problem. You're a child fascinated by leaf cutter ants, small beasts of burden working in plain sight, shifting the very earth beneath you. No one would think to point a gun at them, or at you for that matter, skinny white foreigner, backpack filled with ideas. Years at university have left you wanting. You learn that gunshots sound like electricity shorting out, and in the jungle that happens every night. You learn new words for war, for water, and for soul. Como dijo Miguel, tienes acento suizo, pero la gente te entiende. You learn to ignore the disappeared, watch children play foot in the street. You learn to find sleep on park benches under trees burdened with birds singing. Your father told you again and again, fais ta tête, ma belle. Go if you must, but also, ça vaut la peine parler autre chose que l'anglais. So when at checkpoint, the militia stops the bus you're riding in, gringa sola, sitting at the back next to Luz, 15 and pregnant out to here. At least you understand what they're saying. They ask you to disembark, take your passport, search your bags. They tell you to cover your eyes. You do not move. You do not breathe. The sun is shining. You can feel the heat on your shoulders.
Oh.
So this next poem is entitled À l'oreille du bois pourpre, and I think that may have been my mom I heard exclaim "oh." And this is a photo of my dad's grandmother. And À l'oreille du bois pourpre translates to by the edge of the